The other thing we wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about was our block debugger. This is currently kind of what I would say a beta, so it's still a work in progress. Love to hear feedback, suggestions from all of you on this. So why a debugger? I'll just cover that off very briefly. Why are we building this? And then we're going to spend most of the time with Shannon kind of going through a demo of the debugger. Yeah, this cartoon was great. And then we'll spend some time kind of going through if you guys have suggestions for us or feedback on it. That would be great. Okay, why a debugger? So tons and tons of research around the importance of runtime evaluation in computer science education. I just pulled out a couple good quotes from this. To understand a program, you must become both the machine and the program. Knowledge of a programming language is a mapping between syntax, semantics, and state. And I think we forget this part a lot. And in fact, there are research papers that advocate that you should always teach, you should start off teaching computer science just by having students go through and understand a program before writing a single line of code. And when we talk about state, obviously there's three kinds of state here. There's control flow, right, of your program. There's the data state. What are the value of your variables? And then there's sort of the call stack. And a lot of the research shows that, this is an area that students have a lot of issues with. More than 60% of students incorrectly answer questions about the execution of basic programs. So having a debugger is super important anytime you're teaching computer science. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and just show you.
Cool. So I'm just going to very quickly run through this. So I have kind of a game here. You have a cat. You control it with the arrow keys. And there's projectile spawning. I have 3 stars. Once I shoot 3 of them, they're gone. So down here, I also have this code that says when player, which is the cat, overlaps with projectile, which is a carrot, I should change my star count. So I'm going to lose one of them if I get hit. So I run the code, I shoot a star, and then I run into a carrot. But I don't have any more stars. So if in fact I run it again, I see if I collide with a carrot at all, it takes away all of my stars.
So what's going on?
Right.
This was actually a real issue that happened to me when we were developing Arcade and I was building a game and I was like, what is going on? So I actually did really need this debugger.
So you can get to the debugger by this cool little bug icon, and you hit it and it transforms the workspace. So now you're in debug mode. There's an exit debug mode button here, and we take over the toolbox and make it like the debugger toolbox. So I've set some breakpoints in this code, which you do by just clicking on the line, the block. And we have the standard debugger control. So you can step forward, you can continue execution, or you can restart your program. And this is our current variable stack. So I'm just going to very quickly step through. So you can see as we set the variables, they get set to values. So this is the cat, which is a sprite, which has a bunch of sprite properties. And then if I continue, you'll see that this array displays as an array of strings. You'll also see that nothing is rendering. This is because our render loop runs everything in the onStart, and then it runs the game update. So we've hopped over to this game update function, sets the carrot to be a sprite, sets the carrot position, and it starts rendering. So I'm going to set a breakpoint inside this overlaps function. And then I'm going to restart my code. It's going to run the program. And then I've overlapped with the projectile carrot. So it hits this code. You can see I have 3 stars right now. So I'm going to continue running. And it hits the overlap code again. So you can see if you look at the screen, the code runs a little bit. The carrot advances, but it's still overlapping because both sprites still exist. So if I keep playing, you'll see it just keeps decreasing my star count until I've, -3 stars. Yeah. So then I can exit debug mode. And if I go into the sprites drawer, I grab this destroy block, and I want to destroy the caret when I run into it. So now caret goes away, still have 2 stars. Program works as expected. Yeah,
Cool.
that's our debugger.
And then, so let me just show you guys some of the things. Again, as I mentioned, it's kind of a little bit of a work in progress. Some of the things we do want to add to it, we want to add, edit, and continue. We want to add richer value previews, so adding in images and things like that into that little viewer. We're also talking about maybe doing like a quick data value editing in the debug window too. And maybe a call stack. See if that becomes a real need. Maybe showing inline values in the workspace, right? And then, so one thing Shannon didn't show is we do have also a debugger for TypeScript, and we're going to be adding Python support, so we're going to need to build the debugger for that. But would love to hear your comments, suggestions, questions, and feedback on sort of this experience going forward. Anyone?
Sorry, I guess I always have something to say.
Yeah,
I would make a suggestion here.
Yeah.
There's been a bunch of research about reversible debuggers, which can be hugely, hugely valuable because you can figure out how did you get to this place.
like a little bit like yours going back.
Yeah. Especially with global state, which, MakeCode and Blockly type things do a lot of. It's, if you do a normal sort of call stack based thing, you can kind of go back in the stack and see what the local variables are, but you can't really go fully back in time. And you also can't see what were the values of the global state and stuff like that. So maybe think about that.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I'd be curious about this is along similar lines, the decision to use breakpoints, because they seem like they feel to me like a power tool. Like as a sometimes professional programmer, I do like that I can say I want to break at that spot, but I wonder what the testing will reveal about, if folks are able to learn to use a breakpoint versus some kind of, reversible debugger scrubber over state or something. But I see the problem of like, oh, okay, I have to run this loop 400 times and then this one hits. So I see it, but I'm curious how that works.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, debuggers in general are really complicated for students as well as teachers in K-12 to understand, right? So it's a complex concept that you're trying to get them to incorporate into their teaching. So, but we also wanted to make sure that they're learning something that has transference, right? And breakpoints are, something that is just kind of a standard, right? Yeah, so it's a tricky balance. And I have a feeling we are going to have a bumpy road to try and get adoption of debugger and start getting sort of K-12 teachers using it as part of their teaching practices. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say I really love the idea of setting the breakpoints on the block. I have a cute little block in my program with a ladybug that stops the actual Arduino code and then spits out some stuff on the USB. So I think I'm going to steal that idea because I really like that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that.
Do it.
I don't actually have a question, but we've also been thinking about a debugger for App Inventor, so I would love to coordinate with you on this.
Yeah, for sure.
And then have you also thought about slow motion mode where it moves slower frame by frame, block by block?
Yeah, we have that already. So this was the precursor to the debugger, was what we called slow-mo, where it was just basically an execution trace. And Wonder Workshop uses that in their code editor too. It just sort of highlights each block as it executes.